Welcome or welcome back to Space Cowboy. Today we're going to be going over Starfield's recent update, which is 1.8.88 and released on the 11th of December. It is a very small update, which is a shame, and I was hoping and expecting for a lot more before the year was out, which is a massive shame. So we're going to go through a few things that we've seen over the year and what we can expect to see potentially in 2024. It does seem like this year has been relatively slow. Will we see the same in 2024, or will it be a hell of a lot faster with loads of updates alongside some DLCs? I'm really hoping so, considering Todd put out a 5-year plan for Starfield and continued support for the game all the way up until 2028. So that is a hell of a long time, and I don't think the current game will hold up for that long, especially considering the massive drop-off in players. But before we do that, let's jump in and check out 1.8.88. Now, as I mentioned, it is a very, very small one once again. This update coming out of our Steam beta is now available for all players. The small update addresses a few issues, including crashes that would occur on Xbox and Microsoft Store playthroughs, and issues with weapon cases in outposts. We will also be saying goodbye to the pet asteroid that would follow some players through space. We appreciate all of you who have participated in our Steam beta, and will always continue to read your feedback and make updates to the game. Thanks for playing. So as I said, that is pretty much it. It is a relatively small one, but here are the main points. Well, those were the main points, and here are those points in a little bit more detail. They've addressed issues that would cause space matter to become stuck to your player's ship during space travel. Loading a save will now remove the space Klingon. This fix should address any space matter that is stuck in your travels, but not in instances where player ships have New Atlantis attached. A fix for that will be released in a later update. They've also fixed issues that prevent random guns from spawning in newly created weapon cases after loading a save. And the save load issues on Microsoft and Xbox has been fixed, where players could experience crashes while saving during a long playthrough without going through the Unity. So the most disappointing aspect of that is obviously the outpost weapon glitch, which is the one where you could place loads and loads of crates down, empty those crates, reload a save, and it would fill them up with potentially legendary weapons. So now we're all unfortunately going to have to grind a little bit harder to get those legendaries. But I don't mind, it does add a little bit more to the game. Now, considering that is a very small update, it is relatively disappointing, and unfortunately all of the updates that we've seen so far have been sort of that size, with no news of what is actually coming in the future towards the back end of 2023 or the start of 2024. It doesn't seem like we're going to actually get much in the way of news either. The team aren't putting out any sort of roadmap or anything like that. As it is, once again, a single-player game, we may not see anything like that. I know with early access titles and some multiplayer titles, we obviously see roadmaps. But considering there was a 5-year timeline laid out for Starfield, you would have thought we'd have a hint at something other than the Shattered Space DLC, which, rumoured if it is going by previous Bethesda titles, will probably see the DLC launch sometime in the new year between sort of February and April. That is the 6-month window that we could hopefully see. And there was a rumour that we'd see something at the Game Awards regarding the Shattered Space DLC, but obviously that didn't happen, which is a massive shame. I was really hoping we'd see something there and hopefully get some news, at least a little bit of news about what we could potentially see. But never mind, it is what it is. And the all-time player count for Starfield, especially on Steam, is very depressing. Overall, the game has had an all-time peak of 330,000, with a 24-hour peak of 23,000, but currently only 15,000 players playing. So it has seen a massive, massive decrease, with a 66% loss in October, a 58% loss in November, and then over the last 30 days we've seen a 15% loss. Which is a shame. The game could be so much more, and it feels like it was rushed out towards the back end. The game was already massively delayed, so could that have forced them into releasing something just to get it out there and then release previous patches through either the form of DLC or with updates? Because as I've mentioned many times before, in the game's files, all of the stuff is there to actually build a massive star station, and that could be what the Shattered Space DLC is all about. But as I've said before, the story is very lacking. I was hoping that they'd make some changes to that based off the player feedback, but it doesn't seem like we're going to see any changes at all. The player feedback is the story is relatively good, it's okay, but the actual side quests do hold much more integrity and much more feeling to them. It feels like the main quest is lacking a hell of a lot, especially compared to previous Bethesda titles. The Bethesda title, more in particular, is something like Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, Skyrim, the ways that you can actually go through that and change the storyline depending on what you decide to do in your playthrough. Whereas Starfield doesn't have anywhere near that level of freedom. The NPCs always push you back into the dialogue that they want you to have, very, very limiting that main storyline and how things can actually play out. You do get a big question at the end, whether you want to fight with this person or that person, which is so disappointing. There are a lot of players out there that are having loads and loads of fun with the photo mode going out and taking loads of photos. There's loads of communities that have come together to do mini-series through the game, which is really cool. There's loads of those on Twitter, and that is great. But that small community will keep the game alive, and that's it. It'll keep it alive on a defibrillator. 15,000 players is good for a single-player title. But with those losses, if we keep seeing those 3,000 losses a month, that's a hell of a lot, and that'll dwindle down relatively quickly. Even Skyrim is sitting at a higher player count than Starfield. And this is for a game that was released years and years ago. And yes, a lot of that keeping it alive is mods and a recent update to the Creation Hub, adding loads and loads of paid mods to Skyrim, which are very much more accessible to the players rather than, conventional means of downloading mods. And that coming to Starfield is rumored to be coming in January of 2024. Now, if that does come, that will definitely increase the player count. The only reason I've not gone into mods yet is because I find it really confusing. I am not a tech whiz at all. I use mod launchers, which help me add mods, especially for 7 Days to Die, and Thunderstorm Mod Manager, things like that, for Sons of the Forest. But doing it myself, I am not equipped enough, and I don't trust myself with that. So I think having the actual mod creation hub, or whatever it's called, added into the game is definitely going to breathe a hell of a lot of life into it as well, which would be great, and I really hope that it does. There was a mod creator working on adding multiplayer function to it. I can't find the article now, but he has quit it because he's not interested in the game that much anymore, which is a shame. Having multiplayer in Starfield would be absolutely phenomenal. It'd be so much fun. Only on select either planets or going on space missions, but just having players with you to play with would be great. Even just something like a co-op mode would be great. Running through the game with your friends and collecting items and defeating enemies. But once again, the difficulty would need to be much greater. Even on very hard, as soon as you've got the decent weapons, you're pretty much slamming it, and it's not that much of an inconvenience at all, which is a shame. I don't feel as much of a challenge in this game at all compared to previous titles such as Skyrim and Fallout. Fallout 4 and especially Fallout 4. Fallout 4 was much more difficult than Starfield, especially whacking your difficulty all the way up. The things that you could come across would absolutely annihilate you. And I don't feel that sense of fear in Starfield, which is a shame. I used to always run around and then find enemies and be like, oh god, I can't handle this. I need to run and hide, I'm running out of shit. Which makes that game a little bit more fun. And unfortunately, Starfield doesn't do that. So increasing the difficulty would be an absolute win for the team. And I think that I'd have a few more people playing and enjoying it more. But what do you think about Starfield? Let me know down in the comments below. For now, though, we're going to wrap that one up there. I have rambled on for long enough. I've been Space Cowboy. You guys have been awesome. Massive thank you for watching, and we'll see you very soon with some more Starfield.